Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode here of Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts. I am Blaine Gilmer, one of the hosts here at UGAsports.com, and we have a special treat for you tonight. If you've been watching the show, you know that we try to bring you all the latest on the Georgia top targets and recruits, commits, things like that. And we just so happen to have someone who is intricately involved in the development of three of the Georgia targets in the class of 2022. Right now, we're going to welcome on Mr. Chuck Smith. Chuck, thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks, Blaine. Appreciate you having me, man.
Absolutely. I'm sure everyone is familiar with Chuck from his time with the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, Georgia fans, you may have some not so fond memories with Chuck playing for the Tennessee Volunteers up there. And then also, Chuck has done so much since his playing days have been over. And that's kind of really what we're going to be talking with Chuck about right here. So, Chuck, just kind of tell us right off the bat here, with since you've been done playing, you've done a lot, had some big dreams of things coming about when it comes to defensive line play specifically. I know we were talking a little bit before here, and you have something really big cooked up. So kind of just tell everybody, first of all, about Chuck Smith Training Systems, your idea and how you got into defensive line training, and kind of some of the big things you have planned.
Okay. Well, I started D-line training in really 2000, 1999. I was still a player with the Falcons, but I was always training, working with the guys, Travis Hall, Lester Archambault, working with all those guys after practice, and I always was able to teach them moves. So from the time I was a young kid, back in the 80s, watching LT, I was a fan of pass rush. Watching Reggie White, getting a chance to eventually be his teammate was great. But I think with pass rush, how it evolved, it wasn't the same trend it is now. Pass rush coaches, it wasn't accepted. You were, somewhat on the outside looking in, and as we moved forward in training, so I just kept going. And I always thought if the most important people were quarterbacks, the second most important people must be the guys who get to the quarterbacks. So I went into business in 2000 and just been training ever since. And, so a lot of stuff in between, but and also having the opportunity to be a position coach in the SEC at Tennessee, work as an assistant with the Jets with Rex Ryan and those guys.
Oh, yeah.
I learned what the coaches want to see, and what they need and how it fits around the different schemes of the defense. So some of what I teach and how it really got started, evolved into where we just spoke of.
No doubt. And we talked specifically, you talked about what coaches are wanting to see. You've been involved in that, like you said, from the coaching aspect, and also now as a trainer of defensive linemen, not only just pass rush, but just different kind of techniques altogether. Kind of just educate all of us here, myself, the audience here, when these coaches, both at the college and pro level, are looking at these defensive linemen and now this edge rusher prototype, the pass rusher, if you will, who can be a stand-up backer or a hand in the dirt defensive end guy. What are some of the qualities you're looking for? And I guess to make it easy, I guess you can divvy it up between an interior guy and a defensive end edge type guy. But what are some of the main qualities you're looking for in terms of evaluation?
Well, first thing I look at when I talk to kids, and I talk to a lot of the top guys around the country, I either consult them, train them, or consult their parents from coast to coast. So how it works is we make sure that they get the information. You understand what I'm saying? So when I'm consulting with them, I'm guiding them all the way through. So when I'm guiding them when they're in high school, I'll give them information on what defense I think they fit best in. So
Okay.
part of it is it's not really analytics, it's just evaluation. I watch all the SEC schools. I know who has who. I know every defensive lineman, how they move, how they shake, where they're from, everything about every D lineman that's in this conference, right?
Yeah.
So then I tell guys, if you want to eventually get to where I'm at, to pay the big dollars, the Von Millers, the Aaron Donalds, the school you go to dictates how your opportunity is for the NFL. It's a fact. So that's something that this is the first time people have probably ever heard that there's someone that teaches that. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I want guys to get to the league. And most of the education that I've learned at all the schools, hey man, you're in the SEC. it ain't really many bad educations in the SEC.
That's right.
So at the end of the day, if we're going to be in the conference, why don't we go where they let you rush the most? So and how we do with that now, another part of it, Blaine, is we look at the analytics. I talk to my clients about what the coordinators are doing on third downs. Are they sending 8? Are they covered going rushing 3, keeping 8 back? Are they rushing forward and come with occasional blitz? So this thing goes real deep, man. So I'm gonna make sure all my high school athletes, pass rushers, have all the right information. So remember, I'm a Vol, but I work with all 12 SEC teams, all the teams. I work with the ACC, SEC. I work with the Pac-12. I got guys in the Big Ten, coaches all around. So at the end of the day, I want guys to get. I'm the lead guy. So my thing is, I'm not whatever they do, but I give them the blueprint, the training, the guidance, and it also entails going with the colleges, man, making sure that they go to a school that's going to let them rush.
Absolutely. We're here on UGA Sports with Dr. Rush. Chuck Smith, NFL is the tag on Twitter. You can hit him at his handle. And of course, everybody's familiar with your playing career and your coaching career. And you've just talked about how the analytics and the things that you do to help guys get prepared for the next level. And with that and the reputation you've built up over the years of training quality prospects, you've got guys who are some of the most coveted in the country that are coming your way to get prepared for the next level. And just so happens that 3 of those that in this class, the class of 2022, in Tyree West, Kristen Miller, and Michael Williams all train with Dr. Rush, Chuck Smith. And Chuck, I was hoping maybe you could just touch on those 3 as young men first and kind of what you've come to know about them. And
hold on. I got to cut you off though, real quick. I can't. He'll get mad at me and his dad. I can't forget. There's a big one over there at Milton. I also train, so you got to watch out.
Oh, the Milton. Yeah, absolutely. Labius Overton.
Yep. Just let it be known when you put the hashtag Dr. Rush with these cats, man, there's gonna be some teams with some supercharged D linemen. So, throw him in the hat. He's been in the lab.
Absolutely. And I main reason I was talking about those 3, I was talking about 2022 guys. He's got that another year.
I just can't disrespect him because he's on that level right now.
He is. He's up there.
He's on that level right now.
He is absolutely up there. But Tyree, of course, he's been committed to Georgia for a long time. But let's kind of start off with him, a young man who, from all experiences of us here at UGA Sports, he's a very soft-spoken individual, but, man, he plays with an intensity and desire, what we see on film. Could you just kind of talk a little bit about Tyree West as a commit and as a prospect and a young man?
When I think of Tyree West, the first word that comes to mind is a bruiser, a backyard kind of brawler, short, not really short. I said he's got to be what 6'1.5", probably closer.
Yeah,
I'd say 6'2". I'm not sure. You know that, but thick and explosive. He's twitchy. You know what I'm saying? He likes to compete. He's a good person, man. He's the kind of kid you put on your campus. I don't think you had no problems. But hey, I'm a person that's gotten in trouble one time in college myself, so I'm not going to judge. I have a different opinion on that, but I'm not the coach. And so, but Tyree, man, he is lightning quick, man, for a big dude. We taught him how to spin. He knows how to use long arm clubs, side scissors, long arms. He's just has a great get off, and he's going to fit in really good, man. 3 technique. He'll be so strong. I'm going to tell you, when you think of him, just think of the way you play Geno Atkins. He can play in the 3-4, 4-3. He could play inside. Tyree, I think, will be quick enough as a 295-pound defensive end that can play D tackle, can give you time on the shade, in some of their base 3-man fronts. He has a lot of value, man. He's a dog too. He's a good one.
And when you've been around the state of Georgia a long time in terms of following high school football, when you're able to play in the Region 1 down there that Tyree was able to play in as a freshman, just talk to people about what kind of statement that says when you're a freshman starting at Tift County.
Well, Tift County being one of the legendary high schools in football here in the state of Georgia, even I got a taste of Tift County when I was in high school as a freshman. So very familiar with the rivalry years ago because I was at Clark Central and, Tift County. So, but I mean, that's big because he's playing against bruisers every week. Even the guys at that level, when there's a guy that's undersized that's playing at that level, he a pit bull dog. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So they got all these big prospects and big guys in that. that play down in that region. And so to me, to see what Tyree has done, basically just destroy the competition. Anyone that blocks him, eventually he roughs. He's one of those guys, when you play against him, when he fires off the ball, you're gonna get tired of going against him because he's firing off. So he's one of those guys, man, that he's got juice, man. I mean, he's mature. He's a guy that I'm sure in his second year at Georgia, somewhere in there, be ready to jump in. But from what I've seen, I think he'd be in the rotation, but I think his second year he'll be a starter.
Absolutely. And for those of you that don't know, our recruiting analyst Jed May was down in Tift County today, actually interviewing Tyree West. So that story will be coming to you soon on UGAsports.com. If you're not a member of UGA Sports, you want to follow all the recruiting content, things like that, you can use the promo code going down at the bottom, Dogs 2021, for just $20.21 for the entire first year. So that's a promo code we got going. And Chuck, you just talked about Tyree, who's a commit.
Blaine, hold up. Can I pause you one more second?
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is not you didn't cut me a check for this. Man, your show, this setup is crazy dope, man. This is nice.
I appreciate
I'm loving it, man. I hadn't seen it. I haven't been on. I just got to give you your props, man.
Well,
this is super cool. Real well put together. But basically I'm gonna have to bite your style. I'm about to, get my own little show on like this. I like it. I'm gonna have to call you afterwards though.
No doubt. We'll hook you up with all the stuff.
We'll make all that stuff, man.
We'll make sure you're set to go. But we just talked about Tyree West, who is a commit to Georgia. Now somebody who's on the flip side of the coin when it comes to recruiting, Michael Williams, who is actually committed to USC, Southern Cal. But, Chuck, Dan Lanning and company are not giving up on Michael Williams. They are going to pursue Michael from till the very end. And also, one thing that became interesting to us, kind of at the beginning, it seemed like Michael was listed by a lot of people as actually more of a defensive tackle type prospect. But now it seems that Michael's being recruited as a jack linebacker, an outside linebacker, stand-up type guy. Just tell us a little bit about Michael.
Well, Michael also has a lot of value, but this is who Michael is. Michael is the classic hybrid. He's the definition of a hybrid. He's strong enough to play down in the three-point stance, and he's quick and fast enough and long enough to stand up. So he's really someone that instantly comes in and can have impact as a freshman, day one, I believe, just like we just said, because he can stand up. If he was at Georgia, he'd be Azeez Ojulari on a lot of reps. And when they go to their four-man fronts, he's in a four-point stance, like he's coming off the corner in the 4-3. He's dangerous, man. He's the truth.
Absolutely. And as a person, Tyree, we talked about, is more of the quiet type. Michael seems to be more in that mold as well, a quiet type kid.
Yeah, Michael, he's quiet. Not when he's with them dudes though. When he's with Chris, oh my God, dude, them dudes act a fool. Then they throw in some of those other guys they're cool with, Boo Man and all those guys. But yeah, I mean, Michael is like, he's quick. He can learn moves fast too. He's got some juice.
Absolutely. And then now, so we've talked about a commit to Georgia, a guy they're trying to flip from Southern Cal in Michael, and now the most interesting of all the ones that you train, in my opinion, Kristen Miller. This man has a switch that is on all the time. Kristen Miller, if he does not make it in football, will have a reality show somewhere. Kristen Miller is about as big a personality as they come. I want you to talk a little bit about that. And he's also grown, it seems like, tremendously physically over the last year or so.
All three of these guys, Blaine, listen, all three of these guys I'm talking about right now, they grown men. They grown men. And just like we're just talking about the other two, they got grown man bodies. They grown men. Is that Chris, listen, this three man could be special because Chris, not only these dudes, they're big in their own kind of ways. Chris, he's big, he's quick, he's confident. I went to the Buford game the other day, and it was just Chris was being what I thought he would be, basically unblockable, and he showed that against Buford, unblockable. But we'll worry about the rest of the team the other day. Another
I was
day.
I was there and got a video up close that I'm actually going to share over on
Yeah,
the vault not too long ago. But uh, Kristen got a goal line stop in the first
yeah,
stop against Buford, where he absolutely he was lined up outside shade of the right guard for Buford and absolutely
right.
just destroyed him, put him at 2 yards in the backfield, and got the ball carrier all in kind of one fell swoop, so to speak. That's the power that Kristen brings, and with his personality and with what he's got going on, it seems like with this age of NIL,
Oh yeah,
Chuck, that Kristen could be a monster when it comes to the NCAA.
yeah, yeah. And see how you play. This is how you play Christian Miller. Miller, if you're at Georgia, he's the guy. He's the big, strong guy. When you think of Christian Miller, think of Charles Grant. That's who you think of. Got a big old butt, big old legs, just big all around, man, just stout, and he's explosive. But here's the thing that's so great about Chris. He's gonna be 295, 305 on the shade.
Yeah.
That's easy. He gonna be that big playing the three. He's gonna end up being like that three technique, the pass rushing three technique you have in those base 3-4s. Then when you go to your four-man front, you put him at the three technique. Because he's that kind of hybrid that he's going to be able to play in and out like Charles Grant. Georgia, I want to make sure so
Oh
Georgia
yeah.
fans, when I say it, they'll see it instantly. This guy
Absolutely.
is Charles Grant. And listen, all three of these dudes come in first year, they up the ante in your rotation. Day one, if they go to Georgia, because I'm familiar, Georgia's deep. So day one, they're going to have a chance to get in the rotation. Next year, all three of these dudes, wherever they're, in my opinion, after 1 year in the weight room at these schools, and seeing what they already look like and what they know, these are three of the most vital prospects, that's been around. This class of D linemen across the country is wow, some guys,
Absolutely.
man.
Absolutely. We had a comment on here on the screen, Jeremiah Bridges. It's an honor to have you, Mr. Smith. Hashtag Dirty Bird. So got a lot of Dirty Bird fans out there liking to see it. Oh, he's going to break it out for us there. There you go. So, Chuck, thank you so much for giving us your insight on these three commits and on the, development of pass rushers and what you're doing to train these guys. Before you get out of here, I want you to mention to everybody, where can they kind of find some of the brands that you're associated with and some of the things that you have coming up in terms of development for these O-line guys. You talked about a really big project I think you got coming up that you wanted to unveil too.
Yeah, I got a big project coming up. It's the first of its kind. I've been holding on to this competition tournament for 20 years. I just been going to camps, learning what works good, going to speed camps, going to every kind of camp, D-line, football camps for 20 years, watching NFL camps. And so I started looking at a way to do a concept where we're going to find out, how do you find out who's the baddest pass rusher, high school pass rusher in America? And that's what I'm be asking. Who's the baddest high school protector in America? It's called the Big on Big. It's called the Big on Big High School National Tournament,
All
where
right.
America's high school top pass rushers will meet in it will be 4 different regions. I had to send you it. 4 different regions, Northeast, Southwest.
So it's
Yep,
going to be a big scale. This is all of America getting in here to see who
yep,
can be the biggest, baddest
yep,
pass rusher.
yep. The biggest, baddest pass rusher and pass protector. This
Okay.
is an O line, D line. It's not just it's not a camp. It's a tournament. We're coming
Absolutely.
there to rush. We're going to invite only the top guys in America.
Well,
They're going to have to pay. This ain't the free camp, because I'm going to give them the visibility. Then when they come out of here, they'll have an honest assessment of themselves. We will name who's the top one. So we'll be in 4 different regions. And in that region, there'll be 20 O linemen, 20 D linemen at each one. So it'll be 40 of the top people in the West, the 40 top guys, 20 of them O line, 20 of them D line. Then we got that in those 4 quads. And the winners out of those, there'll be 10, there'll be 5 that end
Wow.
up going to the championship. And so the first one's going to be February 15th. That one is in Atlanta, Georgia. Right now, we're tentatively going to be at hold on, where we tell you about that. In
So you
Atlanta. Hold up.
still picking
I'm
the
trying to.
sites?
Yeah, nah, we pretty much got the site. Who was I just talking to today? Well, we got the site, but it's going to be February 15th in Atlanta. Then the next month, we're going to have 3 of them for the rest of the regions. to the rest of the regions, man. So now it's gonna all come together. The 5th event of this big man battle. Who's the baddest pass protector, baddest pass rusher in America? It's going to forever be, and it's going to be my legacy camp. We're going to finish it up in Athens, Georgia.
There we go. It's going to come back to Athens, where it all started for.
It's going to all, yep.
Being there from Clark Central. I want you to know that one of our staff members, Dave McMahon, says that you are one of the last great Clark Central players to come through. So he's bestowed that upon you. So Chuck,
man.
I wanted to thank you so much for coming on. I know you got a lot going on, and if you wanted to hit us up on how to get all this set up for you, we'd be glad to help you out with that as well.
Hey man, I'm loving it. I need to set up, but I'm gonna change it up, a little different topics. But I'm gonna make you proud. You help me with this, I'll make you proud. But I appreciate you getting me on.
Thank you, Chuck, and thank you for talking to us about those 3 Georgia Bulldog prospects. And we look forward to maybe having you on later in their years to kind of break down some of their film over the season.
Anytime you can call me, anytime. Doesn't matter. I'm cool. I'm ready.
Absolutely, Chuck. Thank you so much. You have a good evening.
Thank you. Appreciate everybody that watched.
We'll see you. And now we're going to add on Mr. Trent Smallwood. I got to take Chuck's name off of there on your so people don't think that it's Chuck Smith on there. But I'll have to take that off in a minute, Trent. I'll just put us on this way, the old school way. So Trent, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How's it going?
Doing good. We're just trying to get people a little educated on some of the pass rushers and things like that Chuck Smith definitely, wouldn't you say, while I kind of fix some of our background and stuff here, wouldn't you say that those 3 that Chuck talked about, and Tyree, Michael, and Kristen, I mean, definitely I see all 3 of them as viable options for Georgia in the 2022 class.
For sure. I mean, I think a couple of months ago you were looking at Christian Williams and Michael Williams as kind of guys that might not be in this class, and now a couple months later, you see a change and stuff, and then Georgia's starting to pick it up with Christian, and then I don't think they ever let up with Michael. They just kind of changed the way their approach in recruiting him. So I think all 3 are definitely in the mix. Of course, Tyree's committed, and I think right now he's solid, and I think if you could get Michael and Christian on board, that would make Tyree even more solid.
Absolutely. And like as I mentioned, everybody, Jed May, he was traveling actually to Tift County tonight. So that's why Jed is not with us here tonight. He's doing some traveling, but he was able to go down and talk to Tyree West and get the latest on his recruitment, how things stand with Georgia and all that kind of stuff. So that will be coming out on the website here soon. And make sure before August 31st rolls around, do not fail to take advantage. It's scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. The promo code DOGS2021. You can use that and get your entire first year, a great deal for just $20.21. So make sure to take advantage of that. So Trent, we're going to get right into our questions here after Chuck did a great job of describing, what they look for in defensive line play, things like that. And he's also uniquely familiar with he studies all these defenses and how people like Dan Lanning use these defensive linemen and bring their pressures and does all the analytics. And he feels quite comfortable pushing his guys towards Dan Lanning in Georgia, it seems like. So, and that's big for a guy who was a Tennessee Volunteer himself.
No doubt.
Absolutely. So let's get to this first question here. Dylan C 99, with the situation with Scott Cochran leaving, will Muschamp be an on-field coaching role? Do you think he becomes an even more prominent recruiter? Well, you can touch on the recruiting part here in just a minute, Trent, but I'll say we're not going to get too much into this with Scott Cochran, because one, I think it's a more of a personal matter, something that we're just thoughts and prayers are with Scott Cochran, hoping that whatever's exactly that he's going through, that he comes out great, flying colors with it on the other side. But definitely Will Muschamp has, from our understanding, this has actually been going on for a little while, and Will Muschamp's kind of already been in that role. It just kind of all came to light yesterday. But Trent, as far as Muschamp as a recruiter, just kind of share, what you've been hearing from guys on that aspect.
Well, Muschamp's got a lot of ties. I mean, all the way back down to down in Florida. He's close with a bunch of those kids down in Florida. He's of course he was at South Carolina just last year, so he's got a lot of ties on the recruiting trail, and I think that's the main reason he's been put on the field for right now. We don't know how long this absence is going to last from Scott Cochran. So if it gets into the fall and it gets into where they can start visiting campuses and stuff like that, or having their one visit this fall. Muschamp's a good guy to fill in that role. So I do think that recruiting played a big impact in letting him be on the field.
Absolutely. And when you have a guy like a Will Muschamp, having been a head coach, he's experienced on all three phases of the game. So that is a valuable piece. And also, one point I want to make out to people is that when you see Will Muschamp in these recruiting pictures and things like that, I think the thing that comes across is you see a player who loves, or a coach that loves where he's at because he played at Georgia. He has a genuine love for and shows that to these recruits. So, Dog Bite U. When is the next Rivals player rankings report coming out? This week? Actually, yes, today they started rolling out the 2023 5 stars, and I believe they're even going to do a update on the 2022 rankings soon, aren't they, Trent? I think once the season gets rolling a little bit.
Yeah, I think it'll come sometime in September or so. But yeah, they're starting to roll out 2023 today, so you'll see that throughout this week, and then 2022 will come later.
And no surprise, Arch Manning, number 1 in the 2023 class. I put a tweet out last night. I was watching the replay of Peyton Manning's Hall of Fame speech, and you see Arch Manning looking on at his uncle up on the screen, and he's looking not, some guys, some 16-year-olds will be sitting there just kind of like, yeah, but he had a laser focus. I mean, it seemed like he realized the gravity of the moment. It was pretty cool to see an Arch Manning seeing his uncle go through that. So he's definitely number 1. And Dog Bite You, that's when they're in the process of rolling out the 2023s right now. So now let's get to one of our top question submitters. That's Scuffletown Dog, and he says top recruits for 2023 that Georgia is in that they might sign. Glad it's Monday. I look forward to your show. Thanks, Scuffletown. We appreciate you listening. All of you guys, we appreciate you listening. Make sure to do us a favor real quick. Share this with other people, real quick. The link on Facebook and Twitter, that always helps. And then hit the like button and subscribe, turn on notifications. We want you each and every Monday, not only for our show on Mondays, but Jim Donnan podcast with Roddy and Dane on Tuesdays, and all the shows that we're going to be rolling out here. So a lot of stuff coming your way. But Trent, if you're talking about top recruits for 2023 that Georgia might sign, I think there's lots of guys that they're really heavily in the mix for. As you're at this point with 2023, the field is pretty wide. They haven't really narrowed things down tremendously, either on the recruit side or the school side. But I would say when you're talking about priorities, there's a lot of legacies in this 2023 class. A lot of guys that are familiar with Kirby Smart, their dads as players, teammates, things like that. Justice Hayes is one that stands out to me. Is there another prospect maybe in that 2023 class that you feel like is a guy they're really in tight with?
Well, I mean, yeah, of course they're building those relationships with a bunch of 2023 kids, and I know that while Arch Manning might seem like a long shot, he does have a good relationship with the Georgia staff. But I mean, I look at Overton, I look at the Burley kid. I mean, there's just so many kids that are right around your state that Georgia has close ties with that can make a run on those guys, and like Justice Haynes. It's just I like the state of Georgia in the 2023, and I think that Georgia could do a lot of his damage just within state, just with the talented core they have here.
Yeah, and with those legacies, I mean, you got Marcus Washington Jr., who's already committed. Justice Haynes is a big target. Justin Benton, who was at Newton, is now at IMG Academy. He's his father was a teammate of Kirby Smart, kind of right when Kirby was coming in, he was going out. And, there Lawson Lucky, who was one of the son of one of the Lucky triplets. So there's a lot going on. They've even got some great guys committed already with Pierce Sperlin, a 6'6", 200 and probably getting close to 225-pound tight end / receiver model. And Seven Cloud there, defensive tackle at McEachern. So a lot of guys already committed, but those are some of the top ones, Scuffletown, that we think are going to be in play.
Yeah,
And
AJ Terrell's brother as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it's going to be crazy. All these names that you see popping up, whether they're younger brothers of guys that have played recently, or like I said, those legacy guys that have those famous last names. DeBusk asked, this is referring to a 2023 again. Why did Neo Avery back off his commitment date? Trent, I think you got some information. You were one of the first ones with us to kind of, say, okay, this may not be going down the way that we think. So,
yeah, I just think that, I don't have the details of what exactly happened or what, why he decided to delay, but I know that either somebody got in his ear or somewhat and asked him to delay into the fall. And, he's going to put it off to the fall, maybe explore his options a little more, just to see what's going on. But I do think Georgia stands at the top of his list right now, going into the fall.
Well, when you got a guy like Neo Avery, I think also too, he was there. He was at the cookout. I know it's called a cookout. It was indoors. People give me heck about it being I know it's indoors, but it's still a cookout. Okay, so that's what it was. And I think he was kind of coming off maybe that visit high a little bit, and maybe I don't know. It could be his parents. It could be just otherwise counsel around him saying, hey, let's give it a little time, let it breathe a little bit. But all the future casts and everything like that were pointing to Georgia. So there was high expectations that if he had pulled the trigger, it would have been to Georgia at the time.
And then another thing that could happen is he's a quarterback, and Georgia want him as tight end, and he might want to explore some options as a quarterback, or it might have been asked to hold off and see what kind of options you will have at quarterback as well. So there's just several factors, and he's got a ways to go, but Georgia's definitely in it.
Yeah, Georgia and Penn State were definitely looking at him as tight ends, but he told me when I interviewed him that Louisville and Cincinnati, I believe, were looking at quarterback position. So you never know. You never know what's priority to a young man. Realistic UGA fan, 1191 version 2.0. What a handle that is. Who is projected to be the next to commit to the Dogs? How many do they really have space for? I think we'll touch on the space part first. I think from talking to people, there was so much that left via transfer, via the NFL. They only took 20 guys last year. I think that Georgia, if they want to, has room, Trent, to sign a full class of 2025 or of 25 in this class, full complement of 25. Will they? Who knows? We'll see. I think it depends more as time goes on and who they actually get to say, okay, do we want to go to the second or third option down on our board, or would we rather take our chances on these last two pieces in the transfer portal? I mean, do you agree kind of with that?
Yeah, and I don't think, I don't think Kirby's going to waste any spots, or throw any last minute flyers at spots just because of the transfer portal and the success that they had in the transfer portal this year. And, I think that he feels like that he can go out and get guys that want to play and come fill in for that senior season. And, I think they can take 25, but I could see them taking also 23, 24, holding a couple spots for that transfer portal.
Absolutely. And when it comes to who is projected to be the next to commit to the Dogs, I think you've got a couple of guys that stick out immediately that are planned to make decisions in September, whether that's Oscar Delp or CJ Madden. Now, a lot of people, us included, believe that CJ Madden is destined to be a Georgia Bulldog, putting in the future cast for him. It just feels that way. But Trent, a development with him today, he did, add Auburn to his top schools. He's got played people like Tennessee, Oregon, all that involved. So not maybe a total slam dunk yet there, even though it feels like he's trending toward Georgia. And Oscar Delp, of course, as well, kind of Clemson trying to sneak their way back in. Is there anybody other than Delp and Madden that you think could be close to being the next commit for the Georgia Bulldogs?
I don't think so. I think those two really are the two that stand out. I think both of those guys will be in Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken. So CJ
like
and
we're hearing that a lot, but I don't. Who knows? I'm gonna stay away from that.
CJ and Kristen both said they would be in Charlotte for the season opener when I talked to Kristen on Friday night. So we'll see. I mean, you could also see like if this Georgia and Michael thing is serious, you could see it, a flip if that was to happen. But I'm not projecting that by any means at this moment. But a lot of stuff could happen in recruiting between now and September. But if I was a betting man, I'd put it on CJ or Delp being next two.
Yeah, and maybe even throw in Kamari Wilson in there, because I feel like he's been that close with Georgia. We had some great inside information on him and his visit and kind of his family, some of the behavior they had during their time in Athens. If you want all the details on that, use that promo code there at the bottom. Make sure you're a member of UGAsports.com and, use Dogs 2021 and get a great price on your first year. And Realistic UGA fan 1191 2.0 had a follow-up question. He said, if the big three defensive tackles aren't in play as once thought, where would we turn any suitable plan B times? Well, we kind of touched on that in this show at the very beginning with Chuck Smith. I think that, I don't know necessarily you call it a plan B. I think that there's a lot of guys who are above the line, meaning that Georgia initially, when they wrote out their board, Trent, they probably had a list of 8-10 guys that they said, okay, we would take these guys in this class. And I think Kristen Miller's been in that. Kristen Miller and Michael Williams have been above that line. I know Michael Williams not a defensive tackle, but I think both of those guys have been above that line all along, don't you?
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think the when they said Georgia backed off a little bit, but he told me on Friday that Trey Scott had been there since day one. He had not stopped recruiting. He'd always been there for him, would always shoot him text. So I think it was just maybe the overall love factor from the entire staff, or just these kids, they like to be recruited. They like to be shown the love, and but I do think Trey Scott has kept them in this with that relationship that they have, and now that the staff is all pushing for him, you could see Georgia make a major jump here.
Absolutely, and I believe, when it comes to defensive tackles, I mean, guys that they're at least interested in, they don't know all the dynamics of it. We know Kristen Miller. We know they had Sean Washington there for the cookout. There's even talks about Sean going to one of the bigger high schools in the country, whether it's Bosco Prep out in California or an IMG or somewhere like that. He's looking at exploring those options. So that could be somewhere, but there's lots of, I think they'll end up taking, they've already got Tyree West. I think they end up taking at least one more interior guy and then focusing a lot on the edge. Trent, they've still got Anai White out there trying to flip Michael Williams, DJ Wesselak out of the Missouri area that is like very close to the same hometown as Dan Lanning and has had a great rapport with him for a long time. So I feel like they'll try to hit one big with that defensive tackle. Definitely going to go after Nolan and Shaw and Bear Alexander still. Who knows if they're able to end up getting back in it. Those recruitments are up and down. Don't you feel like they're going to try to hit one more big one, possibly two on the interior, but then really focus on that edge position to try to fill up spots?
Yeah, I think it's important that that they do land a nose tackle in this class. With the loss of Jordan Davis, the loss of Julian Rochester, the loss of Devontae Wyatt after the season, I think you have to land a nose tackle in this class. And so I think you could be looking at two more defensive line spots, whether it's like Kristen Miller, like a 3-tech guy, and a nose guard to add to him. But I think they got to take a nose tackle and a defensive tackle. Whoever that happens to be. I know they would like for it to be one of the big three, even if you had Kristen Miller along with one of the big three. But I think they need to take two and then focus the rest of the class on the edge.
Absolutely. If anybody has any questions right now that it wasn't a member of the UGA Vault, you can go ahead and drop them in on the comments. We'll try to take those really quick. I'll put up Russell Duke says, what does Chuck think about Ingram Dawkins? Didn't get to ask him that while he was on here. We'll try to get an answer for you, but I'll give you my take on Tyron Ingram Dawkins. TID, as I like to call him, referred to him all last year during his recruitment. It's just easier that way. But I think he's a big young man. He's dealt with some injury stuff early on at Georgia, and we'll see where he ends up coming in. But there's just so much. If there's one place that there's depth, right, for the 2021 season for the Georgia Bulldogs, it's on the defensive interior.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, like the three guys I just mentioned that are seniors and are going to be going after this year, and I think that if you could see TID make it on the field this year and have a role on this defense, I would expect big things from his sophomore season because they're going to have some players at that position, and I think building that depth out, especially early in the season or against like a Troy or like some of those teams they play. That they have a lead. I think you got to get these guys in and let them play and let them build that them reps up because they're going to be thrown in the fire next year.
I know, and then you've got guys like Zion Logue and Bill Norton, who's grown. I think he's grown into more of a three technique guy when he maybe even started out as a more defensive end type. But you got guys like that. Jalen Carter, who I talked to, Caven Call, who is from Apopka High School in the 2023 class, and he's Jalen Carter being from his high school. He said that the fact that Jalen Carter came in as a freshman and Georgia realized his talents and not only used him at defensive tackle, they used him on offense as well. And he caught a touchdown pass, all that kind of stuff. So players are watching what is happening. They watch, okay, do these guys play early at Georgia? Do they rotate a lot of players? Things like that. And the Georgia defense, they play if their motto is if you're good enough, you're old enough. It's not a freshman thing. If you're good enough, they're going to get you on the field. I know that didn't have the question to put up here on the screen, Trent, but one person asked, just how important the Clemson game and the result of that Clemson game is to the recruiting. I don't know that necessarily if Georgia goes into Charlotte and loses that game, that it's going to be just a total detriment to the class. I think it's more about the style of play and how these players see the guys at their position being used that could have more of an impact. I mean, what do you believe?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been one to place, Georgia's going to land this guy because they beat Clemson, or Georgia's going to land this guy because they beat Alabama. A lot more goes into it than just wins and losses in that, especially an opening game. I think the offense is going to play a big part. I think a lot of recruits, a lot of wide receiver recruits, are looking at this Todd Monken offense, wanting to see what happens on year two. How's the passing game going to be? Are they going to sling it downfield? I think tight ends might be looking at, are they going to use the tight end? Are they going to use Darnell? How much are they going to run the ball? Are they still going to be, the downhill attack like they have in the past? I think a lot of people are in a wait and see mode with this offense because, we didn't really get to see much of it last year. They were kind of hampered by the quarterback position. And if it's any, like the last 6 games of the season that JT played in, if that's going to be the offense, you're going to see some wide receivers start jumping on board and wanting to play in that offense, especially with the quarterback talent they have.
Absolutely. Probably got another couple minutes here, guys. So if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the comments. We'll try to answer it here. But, Trent, when we talk about this class and what's coming left, Georgia's at 14 spots. They have anywhere between, probably 9 and 11 spots left in this class. If you had to say the most important for you positions, areas of need for Georgia to address now that they've got Griffin Scroggs in place, their first offensive lineman in the class. They've got Dylan Bell, who adds alongside Denalon Morset in this wide receiver class. What are to you some of the pillars of, okay, here's what they have to make this class what it needs to be for the University of Georgia in the class of 2022?
I think they need to land another safety. And I think they need to land some edge guys. And that they are deep at defensive line. Even if they were only able to snag one more defensive tackle, I do think they have the depth in Athens to still be okay at that position. But I think edge is an important position because you're going to lose a bunch of guys. You're probably going you're going to Adam Anderson, and there's just the list goes on how many guys you're going to lose at that spot, and you're going to have some guys come in and safety. They've been thin at for the past couple of years. Now they've lost a couple guys. Lewis Seen could be a guy that went pro. Chris Smith is I guess a redshirt junior.
Yeah. Well, he's technically a senior, but
yeah.
Now with everybody needs to remember with COVID.
Everybody can come back.
They could come back, and that's the thing that Georgia, and all these SEC, all these NCAA schools could realistically end up playing with 93, 94 guys on scholarship over the next couple of years. They could, not saying they will, because Georgia typically is the type of school, like Kirby Smart said last year, a lot of those guys, their guys are going to go pro. They're not going to elect to come back, but that's going to be a roster management issue going forward for some schools.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a situation next year where you might have Tyree Smith as the only one returning.
Yeah.
So I think Georgia, it's important to land that safety in this class. I think they're good at the cornerback position. You know, I think they'd like to land another, maybe even the number one cornerback in the country. But you know, I think safety and edge are the two important positions moving forward because you know, just with what's coming back, I think offensive line in general will be good. I think wide receiver, they were young last year. I think they have a lot of young guys coming back next year. Tight end, you'll have Darnell coming back. Quarterback, you know, you're talented there. It'll be you got the guys in this class, Gunner and Brock from last year. So I think defense is where they need to really focus in on and land the top guys on their board.
100%. I think Georgia needs to try to get a dynamic wide receiver, if at all possible, a guy that can be a number one type guy. I don't think the rest of it can be build depth at wide receiver, but they need to try to get a number one, a guy that can be a go-to type guy, whether that's Andre Green Jr. or Luther Burden, you know, even a flip from elsewhere. Who knows? They need to go after Shaz Preston, for example. I think could be that type of guy. You know,
and he doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, the top, you know, 5-star wide receiver. As we all know, that Georgia might have a number one receiver sitting right behind, you know, what George Pickens that they got in last class. That was a 4-star and not ranked, I believe.
No doubt.
From the state of Tennessee. So, you know, it's not necessarily getting that receiver that might not have 5 stars next to his name. It's just getting that right fit and evaluating that talent and Monken bringing in the right guy and Hankton bringing in the right guy at that spot.
Absolutely. And Trent, this will be our last question. I'd found this one on the vault. It's from Sandbar Bathroom. Who is the best wide receiver recruit / prospect coming out of high school in the last 5 cycles, in your opinion? So this is dating all the way back to the 2018 class. Best, and then we'll get to part 2 later. But I would have to say, I was looking at this a little bit earlier, and I got to thinking that I think it was the 2019 class that had Jordan
Pickens and Hazelwood.
Yeah, those are the two.
That's the best class that I've probably seen. Those two guys are phenomenal on the camp circuit. Just watching them Rivals Challenge, Jaden Hazelwood, you know, putting on a show. I think those two guys really stand out there. You know, we don't go all the way out to the West Coast and see all those guys all the time. They come to the Rivals Challenge, but those are the two guys that stand out to me. Those two guys were the real deal.
And I think the class before that, in Justin Ross, who we're also going to see in this Georgia Clemson matchup, I think he would fit in that category as well. So Ross, Pickens, Hazelwood, kind of three guys that all in their own way have a connection to Georgia. So best under the radar eval you've made that you want to brag about is Trent. I've not been with Rivals. I've done with other outlets, but with Rivals, is there anybody that maybe people were doubting that you said, no, this guy is going to be really good, that kind of panned out for you?
I mean, the only one, I guess there's been a few, but, you know, I look at Jonathan Abram as a guy that I was in on early, and you know, he was a 2-star at the time. He was playing quarterback out in Mississippi, and you know, everybody was like, he's got to be like a, you know, preferred walk-on or something. I'm like, no, Pruitt loves this guy. I think that was a earlier than 2018, but no, I said Pruitt loves this guy, and he ended up, you know, jumping on and now he's playing for I guess Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
So he was a guy that you know, I'd pinpointed earlier, but you know, I'm not in this to brag. I'm not in this to get in. I don't want any credit on anything. This is a team game. We're just trying to do what's best for these recruits and get them seen as much as we can.
No doubt. Just getting these guys as much exposure. It's a fun to be around these guys in this exciting time in their life. And we appreciate all you guys joining us here on UGA Sports YouTube channel and watching Georgia Recruiting Rumors versus Facts. We're live each Monday night at 8:15. Make sure right now, everybody who's in here, and then we got like 83 in here concurrent right now, go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button and notifications for us. Share with your friends if you like the content, and make sure to get on to the vault so you can submit your questions next week. Trent, it was a fun episode, man. I appreciate you joining me.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Guys, make sure to get with us next week, and you make sure to tune in to Coach Donnan and Roddy and Dane's podcast tomorrow, and we'll catch you next time.